All right, just for you and for Nate Voyer, today I'm wearing color.
You are wearing color. Wow.
You didn't even notice when we
I
first
didn't even
sat down.
notice that. Yeah.
I literally thought that would be the first thing that you said.
Man, not monochrome today. You've got it out there. And what color is that, Jeff?
It's teal.
It is teal. I can't
It's
quite
teal.
see.
It's actually, I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of small. It's my Airmail City.
Nice. Look at you.
Yeah.
Cornhole guy.
So at the sake of, I'm assuming that my family's not going to listen to this between now and Christmas, but everyone in my family, they all love cornhole. Obviously, they're all so supportive. You know, I mean, they love watching, they love playing. My dad can kick my ass on the boards, which I hate.
Wow.
Of course, Noelle almost beat me. Noelle, my daughter, almost beat me when we were at Clemson. That would have been embarrassing in front of Trey. Yeah. I think I won like 21-18, something like that.
Wow.
That would have sucked. But anyway, they all love the Airmail City and the SWAT stuff. You know, when I would wear it. So David Lim gave me a promo code, so I bought just a shit ton of Airmail City stuff. So
man, look at you.
Everyone's getting Airmail City SWAT cornhole gear as part of their Christmas gift.
Wow, that's perfect. What a great I did not get a promo code.
Well, just text him. He'll give one to you.
Okay. Yeah, that's
You know what? They probably put the funny thing was that he gave me a promo code, but then I got an email after I placed my order saying, anyone who orders between now and Christmas, type in like Xmas 30 or something like that and get 30% off. So it ended up being pretty much the same discount, but whatever. Wow. I appreciate those guys, and they do so much. They do so much for us. So the least we can do is buy some of their gear.
Buy some gear.
Yeah, and really, when they give you 20%, 30% off, it's no more expensive than anything else you'd buy.
Yeah, I like their gear actually.
Yeah, I do too. So I like this sweatshirt, and because you and Nate apparently think I wear so much black and gray, here you go. Now
I don't have a problem with it because I actually like wearing black myself. But
yeah, I do too.
Blue is probably the one color that I wear way too much. I actually looked through all my clothes the other day, and it was probably 80% blue shirts. No lie. I mean, I'm not exaggerating like I normally do.
I'm the same, dude. I'm the same way. If you open up my closet right now, you would laugh because it basically is black fading into blue. That's my whole closet.
Right. And then I've got and then there's some color that I see, and I'm like, yeah, but I never wear that. You know, they're right there, but I never wear them.
See, I feel like you wear red a lot. Is that just because of ACL stuff?
Yeah, I mean, the red shorts thing kind of got known for that at the events, and the red pants. But yeah, that's really just for those moments. I don't actually wear the red shorts and red pants a lot. Well, the red pants I can't wear anymore anyway because I ripped those last year's draft.
All right, so speaking God, that was funny. That was so funny. Speaking of fashion, so have we decided yet? And speaking of red, I showed you. You were on the conference call yesterday.
All in, man. I'm all in. You got to do it. I do.
Not. So you like the sport coat that I bought, not what Nate Voyer was going to send me.
Right.
Right.
I like your sport coat. Okay. I'm gonna have a blue one. I'm gonna have a blue one, sort of, so we can kind of balance each other out.
Oh, you're gonna wear the same one you wore for the Steelers?
Essentially, yeah. I mean, if I don't wear that, I got to wear a suit, and I don't really want to wear a suit.
No, I like the look that we went with of the Stevies, just the blazer and slacks and button down.
That's where I'm heading. Maybe throw a tie in there, maybe a little color, maybe a little pocket square with some color, but we'll see.
All right, I'm not wearing a tie. Are you going to wear a tie? Are we going to go ties?
I mean, if we're going to wear the jacket, if we're going to wear the jacket, well, we don't have to.
I'm not doing tie.
Okay.
It's funny because they've got this thing slated for what, a 6-hour broadcast.
10 to 4.
That means that somehow we're going to have to do all of this in 8 hours less than we did last year. Weren't we on the air for like 12 or 14 hours?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the beauty of it is you got 3 captains now. So essentially 2 rounds are gone. Remember? Because there was only one captain. And so essentially 2 rounds. Yeah. I think the process will be a little bit more refined. But I think you're right. We're going over. I don't think there's any way we're not going over.
And 90 seconds in between every pick. Is that what I heard yesterday?
That's as long. That's as long. I mean, yeah, but if you think about it, you make your pick, and then you've got an idea of who you want next, right? And then
in the beginning, yes,
a group
but
of
I think
3 or
90
4
seconds. I think 90 seconds in the late rounds, people are going to be scrambled, but maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, you know what I think is going to happen when they get to the late rounds is that it's going to be like, what bags do they throw? What kind of player do we need? Like let's find out. Do they throw, whatever sticky, or are they, I think they're just going to start doing that. We need this type of player. We need, what I mean? We need a sticky bag thrower. We need a slick bag thrower. So we'll just grab this person because they throw X bag. So
what I mean? Style of game probably will be huge, and then
bag manufacturer or bag manufacturer. Because remember last year, contraband. I mean, they just went contraband players, right?
Yeah,
I think we'll see some of that this year too.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe not contraband, but just certain companies will have a pretty big influence over some of these teams. I think could be
right.
Wrong.
Right. All right. We'll say we've got plenty of time to talk cornhole with our guests coming up here.
Yes, we do.
In a few minutes. So this show, obviously, we're recording here a few days before Christmas. So, Merry Christmas early. I hope you guys have a great Christmas. Are you guys doing anything?
I'm leaving Friday to go up to Elizabeth City. Julie's parents live in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, which is up by the coast. So that's out by the coast, like near Kitty Hawk and Nag's Head and all that stuff.
Yeah,
but then
gotcha.
near the Virginia border. So I'll be heading up there Friday. And then
what's the situation with your are you guys still trying to move back up to North Carolina?
Eventually, yeah. I mean, after the new year, we'll put it back on the market now that everything's kind of put back together. So
yeah, that's awesome. And you're at your mom's house now, right?
I am. Yeah, be here through Friday, and then back on the road, and then up there for a couple of days, and then down to Myrtle Beach for New Year's.
I like the bookshelf in the back.
Old school, man.
Yeah,
and it's funny. I'm in between the bookshelf and this mirror, and it's like, why don't you move over? But the way the seating arrangement is in here, there's nowhere to be in the middle of the bookcase. There's actually some pictures of me in that bookcase up there.
Well, I would hope so. It's your mom's house.
Yeah.
If there were pictures of me up there, it'd be really weird.
That would be strange.
Actually, there's more than likely to be pictures of Stacy.
Yeah, there's all kinds of horse stuff in here, but you can't see it.
Whoa, horse stuff?
Yeah, my mom was a big equestrian person.
Oh,
for
very cool.
Years and years and years. Yeah, she was a show jumper, equestrian, all that kind of. She was actually a fox. She did fox hunting and all that stuff as well. Yeah, she was big into horses.
All right, so do you get big into Christmas? Has Christmas always been big around your house?
No, I am not a big Christmas fan.
Well, this gets me into Meet Jeff and Bernie, because you and I have never talked about this before. I wondered, because of your past, if you guys were
the two
people.
Yeah, the two of us, like we used to joke, we'd have dysfunctional family Thanksgiving and Christmas, right? Like, because there was only two of us, so it's not like you could have this big Christmas. And so, watching everyone else's family kind of enjoy this great family time, it was a little rough when I was younger, but as I've gotten older, it's just stressful getting stuff for people. And did you get the right stuff for people? And did you get everyone everything that they were supposed to get? It's all that stuff. I mean, I think that I know I've gotten away from the true meaning of Christmas, whatever that is, but I'm not the biggest fan of the holiday. I like the fact that everyone can get together with their families, but I don't know, man. I'm not the biggest Christmas person.
I'm sorry I'm laughing, but your answer just did not surprise me whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, tell me what's great about Christmas.
Yeah.
Unless if you're uber religious, I can kind of get the significance of it and all of that, which I'm not. So,
Actually, I know some uber religious people who do not like Christmas, not because of the actual religious holiday, but because of the materialistic value of it.
Exactly. And so I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it's great that people get together with their families. I think that's awesome. But
yeah, I like it. I'm a huge I'm a Christmas tree up on Thanksgiving Day, lights on the house. Thanksgiving. Now we couldn't do that this year because we just moved, obviously. But yeah, we're huge Christmas people, and we love it. All the food and all that stuff. And but yes, I agree with you. The whole gift giving thing is stressful. We've streamlined it in my family, drawing names, doing all that kind of stuff, which does help a little bit. But it is stressful. But I do I really like I was wrapping gifts the other night, and Kathy came in. She's like, "You need help with that?" I'm like, "Nah, I got it." She's like, "You like doing this, don't you?" And I'm like, you know what? I kind of do. I actually like wrapping Christmas gifts. I like the act. I hate shopping,
right?
But I like the act of actually giving a gift, wrapping it, listening to Christmas music, putting the bow on. Is that weird?
No, you are so remarkably Midwestern, though. it just fits into the whole thing.
I do. I like it. I like it.
Why not? Most people do. I'm not saying that I'm with the majority of people on this. I just, I don't hate. Let me rephrase that. I don't hate Christmas. I know
you don't.
I don't like it the way some people do. Julie, for example, loves it. Trees up. I mean, we don't even have that much space, and we had all that disastrous stuff going on. Still found a way to get a tree up and some lights and all this stuff around. It's great. It puts you in the spirit. But I never had kids.
I can tell you really like it.
Yeah, but I mean, I never had kids either, and so I think when people have kids, it also has a different meaning, and to them for what kind of stuff they can do. So that Christmas, way to go, everybody. Neat.
All right. Your answer does not surprise me. Well, Merry Christmas anyway.
Yeah. Happy holidays.
And I will text you on Christmas Day.
Yeah, man. Happy holidays to everybody.
All right. So the other thing real quick, actually, I wrote down a bunch of the things I want to talk to you about off the air. I need to get new golf clubs, but we'll talk about that some other time. Fantasy football. Did you, are you still in it? Are you guys?
I am. I'm in the semifinals. I took out the commish last week. Yeah. I play Michael Caine, aka Ghostfinger, this weekend in the semis.
Oh my gosh! Wow. So I lost. So my two quarterbacks were Lamar Jackson and Jimmy Garoppolo was my backup, and so I lost both in the same weekend. But for some reason, Trevor Lawrence was available, so I picked him up, and look what he's done the last 2 weeks. So I'm just going to roll with him again.
Why not? Why not? Right?
Yeah, they got a tough road game against the Jets, but we'll see.
I think one of the smart things I did early on was I took Joe Burrow because I thought they would be in it late in the season and he would have to perform. And so if I made the playoffs, he would be playing well, right? And so I've got a couple of Bengals and Christian McCaffrey. It's always solid. So I've made
Christian McCaffrey.
I do.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
I need one more receiver.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the problem with our league is that everyone right now is playing for second place. Although last week, if I had played I'm in second place. So I got a first round bye in the semifinals this week. But last week, all my guys just went off. I got like 164, 165 points, something like that. If I can do that, assuming that I win this week, which I'm not sure I will, but if I win this week, I'll play the number one guy. And he only has one loss. So he has Mahomes and Kelsey. Like, how did we allow this to happen?
That's just a good draft.
He is killing it. He's absolutely killing it. So we're basically all playing for second place.
It's funny. Like when you do this and you hear people and you watch TV and the prognosticator, they tell you how you're supposed to do your draft, and then someone drafts like a Kelsey way too high, and people are like, oh, that's way too soon for the tight ends. Like, really? I've got Mahomes. I'm giving myself 50 points every week.
Yeah, I was gonna say apparently it's not, because I think this guy in my league drafted him like third round.
Yeah.
And again, he's only has one loss all year. So he's killing.
Yeah, Dave Weiser is our dominant player in our league. Dave Weiser has been dominant. I finished second in total points, but sixth overall. That shows you how good my luck was.
Yeah, I hate that. So your points against then are terrible.
It was in the first 3 weeks, I was the single worst team in our league, lowest points, last place, no wins after 3 weeks. And then I just kind of took off, but had some bad. But I got lucky last week against the commish because he just had a bad week to have a bad week. So my players didn't go off last week, and I had some players. Yeah, and I had some players on the bench. I had Kittle on the bench after he had such a big week. Yeah. So hold on. At my mom's. There's like 95 animals rolling around here. So one of the cats is trying to get up here while we're filming.
Oh yeah, that I finally just had to. Georgie is we've got two. We got the dog and the cat. Georgie's the cat. I finally had to start shutting the door because anytime we do the podcast early on, starting last year, Georgie, yeah, she'd want to get up in my lap. So yeah, I just shut the door now. All right.
Yep.
In the waiting room is our guest, and she's probably like, "Will you please just stop talking about football and get to me?" Although you know what, our guest today is a big football fan, so maybe she would like to chime in on that.
I'm sure she'd like to talk about how the Bills have been underwhelming this year.
All right, let's bring her in. So, all right, the only thing I'm worried about, honestly, is that you and I, every week we get together. Who do we want to have on? Who haven't we had yet? Well, there are two female players that we have not had on yet that we needed to get on the show right away. The problem is that these two females are doubles partners. So we're like, who the hell are we going to choose first?
Big trouble.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll talk to her about that in a minute. Anyway, so our guest this week, currently the number 2 ranked female player in the world in the open standings. She's also a former doubles national champion in USA Cornhole with her partner. She is a proud product of, I think it's SUNY Brockport is where she went to school, but huge Buffalo Bills fan. But really, she is a terrific story. She is incredibly smart, bright, outgoing, one of the great personalities in the game. You know, as a broadcaster, you and I talked about this before, Bernie. Like, and I've got one this year too, like with Coastal Carolina doing so many Coastal games. You have to have a coach behind the scenes to go to, right? To where you can ask dumb questions.
Right.
Benny Moss is the assistant coach at Coastal Carolina. So anytime I see Coastal run something, like they ran a triangle 2 last year. They've already run a box and 1 this year. So I like to ask Benny, why, when do you guys do this? And when do you practice? You need to have that person to ask strategy questions to. Sure. And our guest today is perfect for that. She is a fierce competitor, so knowledgeable about the game, and she truly is one of my great go-to people when talking about the game. But she's also an amazing athlete. I've talked about this in the broadcast before, but if you haven't heard about this, I mean, back in high school, you talk about being a great athlete. She was in swimming and diving, softball, track and field, tennis, basketball, golf, and soccer. She even wrestled for 4 years in high school, and because the high school was small, she had to wrestle with the guys, and I'm sure she probably killed it. But anyway, let's bring her in. I'm so glad to finally get her on the show. Please welcome to BoarderLine, Lori Dool. What's up, Lori?
Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for having me.
No hat. Look at that, Jeff. No hat from Lori.
No hat, Lori Dool.
That's right. I mean, this is weird. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen you not wearing a hat. Maybe a couple times, but
yeah, most people don't recognize me without a hat, it's kind of cool. I have like a Clark Kent and Superman life going. It's great.
By the way, ringing in the background is
it's gotta love being at my mom's place, right?
It's Miranda Coy. She's calling right now.
She's calling. Yeah.
Oh, am I not on this show and you're having Lori on first? That's exactly who that phone call is.
She might be calling you, but she's sitting in my living room.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. She's trying to get on. Is what's happening. She's trying to get to the camera.
Please tell her we say hi. And the thing is that we're trying to get Miranda on at a time because I really want her to sing. I feel like she's like totally given up on that whole thing. So when like with Brian Schramm, who's playing some cornhole and playing guitar, I want to have him play a song. Like I really want Miranda to come on and sing. So we're waiting for a good time to bring her on. So
no pressure.
No pressure. I'll try. I will try my best, but I don't know if she'll do it.
Tell her to get a song ready. All right, Lori. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays early. Are you a big holiday person? Are you into Christmas? Are you into all this fa la la and everything?
I am not super into the holidays, but my mom is. So we have to join in. We got to do all the family things. But because of Myrtle Beach this year, I'm not going home. So I went home in October and spent a week there. So we'll be, FaceTiming and doing all of that stuff, for the actual holidays. But there's also a lot of football on, New Year's or Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So that's probably what I'll be doing.
So where are you at right now? You live in Florida, right? I mean, we talked about all the connections, your fandom with the Buffalo Bills, and I think I got it right. Isn't it SUNY Brockport where you graduated from?
I did go to SUNY Brockport for my bachelor's degree. That is correct. It's about 45 minutes from my parents' house, and they live just north of Buffalo. But I just didn't want to get snowed in Buffalo, which is a high probability at this time of year, and miss out on Myrtle Beach. So I decided to stay home this year.
And home is Florida, right?
Home is Florida in Delray Beach. So South Florida.
So growing up where you grew up, how many white Christmases did you have? Because I've never had one. Jeff, you've probably had one growing up where you grew up. I've never experienced a white Christmas.
I will tell you the opposite, where I remember one year when it was a green Christmas. And that was weird. Everybody had gotten like new golf clubs and things like that, and people were out golfing. Like the golf course is not open, but people were just out there because it was such a nice day that they wanted to go and experience, some fresh air that day. And that's the only one that I remember without ever having snow until, recent years.
Yeah, same. I was the same way. I mean, in Iowa, It was always a white Christmas. Like Bernie, we would make huge like igloos, and I'm not kidding. Like we could build igloo, snow houses out of blocks, and we could dig tunnels in the snow. It was just so deep. I mean, we had a lot of white Christmases.
I remember it being cold a few times, and now that you guys live in the South, you probably know that the only time it gets really cold is when it's dry. It can't get really cold and still have moisture in the air. So I remember some cold Christmases, but never a white Christmas. 52 years old, not one single white Christmas. So there you go, Jeff. That's another reason why I don't like Christmas. I can't even partake in the whole, I'm watching commercials and there's snow on the ground. It's like, I haven't seen snow in 2 years. What are you talking about?
Oh, Bernie, I'm sorry.
Listen, I'll get you a free ticket to Buffalo, and you can go up and experience it.
See all the snow that I'd ever want to see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You want to come back down south real quick.
All right, Lori, before we geek out on too much cornhole, just before you came on, we're talking a little fantasy football. You are a huge Buffalo Bills fan.
I am.
So that was an amazing game last week. I thought Miami was gonna sneak up and bite them, but Josh Allen does his thing and comes back. So are you in fantasy football?
I don't play fantasy football anymore because I really don't have too much extra free time to play. Right, we're traveling, we're doing crazy things, especially on the weekend. So it's hard to keep up with different team rosters and all of the different teams. So I've really just kind of settled into watching Buffalo Bills games when I can. But you guys know we're playing, Saturdays and Sundays. So to sit down and be able to watch the game is difficult.
Yeah.
I'm never playing again. I'm having a decent year, but I'm never playing again. And I'll tell you why. Because for some reason, even though I grew up in Iowa, I grew up a huge Dallas Cowboys fan, unfortunately. And I still don't know why everyone hates the Cowboys. We have not been to the Super Bowl or won a playoff game since 1995. But whatever. I'll let that just sit out there for a little bit.
It's the obnoxiousness level of the fans, actually.
But they don't win. They don't win
I
at
know.
a high level.
Exactly. So why are they so obnoxious?
Because I don't know. But I don't think they're obnoxious. I think that's just the persona that everyone has just attached to them.
Cowboys fans are the worst.
Worst. All right. So here's my take on it. I think that they are the most bandwagon, other than the Patriots, the most bandwagon football team that's out there, for the sole fact of there are so many people, and I've never met too many Cowboys fans, maybe a handful, that are actually from Texas, right? It's all these people that are from like all over. So people joined on the bandwagon very early in the 90s, and then just, they got labeled America's football team.
But again, I just don't understand why. But you're right, Lori. The reason why I became a fan is because I'm so old, and Bernie and I have talked about this, that back when I was younger, you basically just had the game of the week. This was before
always the Cowboys.
Sport. And in Iowa, they had to choose: do we want to put the Vikings on, who were terrible and no one watched, or do we want to put the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Dallas Cowboys on? So the Dallas Cowboys were on every weekend. And so were the Steelers, but the Steelers were the same colors as the Iowa Hawkeyes. So I hated that. So I just became a Cowboys fan. But anyway, so I'm not doing fantasy football anymore because this is a perfect weekend. So Trevor Lawrence is my quarterback. And so I find myself rooting for Trevor Lawrence versus, anyone else that he's playing against, even the Dallas Cowboys. Like I'm rooting for my team because I want to win versus rooting for my team. So I just hated it. So I'm never playing again. I hate it. I really do. But what we want to do is we want to start a fantasy cornhole league.
It's out there. I think there's one that's already out there, I think.
Yeah, they're out there, Jeff. You got an invite to one.
Yeah.
You got several invites, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. Here I thought I came up with a great idea a couple weeks ago, but apparently not.
I feel like cornhole is kind of like baseball, where there's just so much action happening all of the time. I think it's harder to keep up with rather than football, when you're only, so many weeks out of the year, and you're only, really talking about Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Right.
Because when do they do it, by the way? Because wouldn't you have to do it around the Nationals? Because like you're saying, there are so many events, there are so many regionals, there are so many different tournaments. How can you play fantasy cornhole unless it's around the bigger tournaments? How do they do that?
To be honest with you, I'm not really sure. I think that they are really around the bigger tournaments, but you're trying to keep up with, all of the players, and you're trying to keep up across all of these different like regionals and conferences, and checking out who won and who lost. I just feel like there's so many different moving parts until we can get that all centrally located somewhere. I don't know if that's going to take off as much as fantasy football.
Right. Yep. All right. Speaking of sports and drafts and everything, first things first with Cornhole. So coming up on New Year's weekend/week, it's going to be a huge. We were on a conference call yesterday. This is now becoming the second biggest week in the sport of cornhole. This week/weekend coming up for New Year's Eve. But one of the big things is obviously the ACL teams draft. So for the second time ever, yes, we are going to have a draft. 16 teams, 16 players. We even have the little ESPN chime, the little. It's awesome. It's so much fun. So are you excited for the draft? Are the players looking forward to this? I mean, what are your thoughts on the draft coming up here in a couple weeks?
I'm excited for the draft just from a sports perspective. I think it's so fun to be able to sit there and watch all of your friends get picked and look at some of the strategies from the captains. I really like how they went with not just having one particular captain, but a team of captains. I think that kind of diversifies who's going to get picked up on each particular team. But I really think that from a player's perspective, it's nerve-wracking, right? We all know our value. We all know that, we're just as good as this person and we beat this person, last weekend or the last 5 times we played him, but not everybody sees all of those. And so I think that, it just really comes down to the perspective of how well some of those team captains. And then I think the bag manufacturers have a lot to do with the way in which our draft is going to continue to grow and kind of make different teams happen.
Right. So, Lori, all right. So as a female player, how have you seen that side of the game progress? Because it wasn't that long ago where you could really say, well, there's 10 to 15 women that are, could really consider themselves top level players. And now it seems like that's quadrupled, if not more.
I completely agree.
How do you see it now? Because, it's a fight. It is an absolute fight now on the women's side, to be considered one of the elite ladies of the game. And, you find yourself in that fight every week. So how has that side of the game improved?
Well, I think that just overall, we're pulling more females and really getting them to start coming to more tournaments and growing different females, right? So you see a lot of people starting to play in the intermediate and competitive, but also starting to now play more and more in the women's division. So you're looking at women's standings, I think, from a completely different perspective. But like you said, we've even in the time that I've been playing have grown, and now we're up to 32 pro female players. And anytime you meet up with any of them, it's, a potential to have a fantastic game where that the PPRs are going to be high. The women's game is just completely different than if you're going to go play man. Everyone is just shooting for the hole every single time. There's really not a lot of blocks, not really a lot of air mails. So I think that, it really just kind of comes down to more of the mental game than a physical game for the ladies, which I think brings an interesting perspective. But, kind of relating back to the draft, I feel like the women are continuously underrated every single year. We've got so many great females that we play with all of the time, and it's just, especially in Florida, right? We have we have 6 women out of the entire league that are in the state of Florida. Right. So, it's a crazy competition every single time you travel outside of your door. Within a half an hour radius, we've got 3 female pros. So unless you're going to get extremely good, you are not going to be a standout.
Right. So how tough is it being in the state of Florida? Because look, you got Cheyenne, who's, kind of, she's where everyone wants to get to in the female game, right? She is kind of the standard bearer, and until someone kind of takes her perch, that's just how it is. But she's in Florida. Rosie's who's having a great year. She's right around the corner from you. So, how hard is it? I would think it would make you better because that's who you're having to play against in regionals. You're having to face this competition where other parts of the country may not be there yet. So, in some ways, it's kind of tough because you're running into such great players, but it can only make you better in the long run, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right. I completely agree. I've always said it, success breeds success. If you are not going to play against people that that you can lose to, you're never going to get any better. So just going out and winning games that you have no business losing is not going to teach you anything. So anytime we go to a regional or even a local event at this point, I mean, it's just a learning opportunity because you never know who you're going to run into. Outside of the females, on the male perspective, I mean, we've got to have, I don't even know how many in Florida. I would say at least 20, if not more.
Yeah.
Hey, Lori, again, you're currently ranked number 2 in the open standings. Where do you feel like your game is at right now? You're obviously playing at a high level. I mean, are you at Cheyenne's level right now? I mean, do you feel like you can compete with her?
The last time I played her, she got me pretty good at the conference. I had to play her in the state conference. And I will tell you that every time I play her, I get closer and closer, right? And it's just trying to figure out, first of all, I think it's difficult because she's always been much better and one of those people that I've aspired to be like. So just trying to wrap your head around the mental part of going up and playing against somebody that you have aspired to be like for so long, I think is really difficult. And then just kind of having the confidence of knowing that you can actually win a game. But it's getting closer, and I think it's going to happen eventually. You know, it might be more luck than skill at some point, but I think once I can get one, I'm we'll be good to go. But that is exactly what happened with Rosie Streaker. When the first time I beat her 3 times in a week. And, it was just kind of like one right after another. And one of them was a shootout final. So, I think you got to give yourself a little bit of grace and understand that it's not just going to come. You've got to work hard for it.
All right. That is a perfect transition.
Yes.
You mentioned the mental game, so let's just dive right into this because I love talking to y'all about this. And Lori, you are a perfect person to talk to. You are a fierce competitor. You are so sweet and kind and patient, and I love that about you off the court because, like I talked about in your intro, I can ask you anything. But on the court, you definitely have that switch that flips. And back when I was a young reporter, I don't know if they do this anymore. Like you weren't allowed into a locker room right away after a Chiefs football game because they needed a cool down period. Like you're the reason why that those rules were developed because you don't want to run into Lori Dool right after she's walked off the court. But I love that about you. I love that about you.
That is not necessarily true. I have tried to get
it's true.
about it,
it's true.
It's true. Trust me. There's been a couple times I wanted to come up and talk to you, and I'm like, yeah, now is probably not a good time.
It's difficult. But, I mean, whether you win or you lose, you want to have some time to decompress from the game. It's hard to just be able to flip that switch, I think, because you're taking in so much, right? Regardless of the outcome of the game, there's something that you could have done better, right? Unless you're throwing a perfect game, there's always something that you could have done better. And so you kind of just need some time to reflect on that and then move forward. But what people don't understand either when you're looking at and you're watching these tournaments, that if you, let's just say, for an example, you go into the losers bracket, you are playing one game right after another. You don't even get time to, kind of like sit down and think. So that's got to be a quick transition as well. And so it's hard to go in and out of being, a fierce competitor and a very nice outgoing person on the other hand. But, it does happen. And it is really difficult to not get that grace period in a sporting event. I mean, you mentioned football players. You've got a barrier between you and your fans. You get that cool down period. But in a sport like cornhole, we don't have that grace. So it's difficult.
Jeff, hold on.
Yeah.
Are you aware of a nickname that I gave Lori Dool a couple of years ago, or about a year and a half, couple of years ago, and she can't stand it? She has asked me a million times to not call her that. Are you aware of what it is? Because of her ferocity, the way that she is, she's such such an intense competitor. I started calling her a bulldog because that's kind of how and she gets so angry when I call her that in streaming matches. I don't know why, because that's how she plays. She's right there. I mean, she's like a bulldog on the court. And I see that as a compliment. She does not like me calling her a bulldog.
Yeah,
Lori, tell us why.
Sorry, Lori, I don't disagree with that. You are a bulldog.
Yeah, I just, I just don't want to be compared to a dog, I guess. I don't know.
I agree with that. All right, so back to the mental side of the game. Because you are such a fierce competitor and so locked in when the game is going on, I love talking to players and asking you guys about this. What is going on in your head when you're competing? What is your self-talk? What are you trying to talk yourself through? What are you talking yourself into? What's it like for you inside your own head during a match?
So I think that the hardest part about being a cornhole player or just any sort of like individual sport is you have to remain positive. And so it's a slower paced game as compared to, maybe like a football or lacrosse or some other team event. So I think that it's harder to stay in a positive mindset, because if you think you're going to miss a bag, you're definitely going to miss a bag. And then if you do miss a bag, to have to be able to come back and throw 3 more bags at your best rate, whether they go in the hole or you're throwing your blocker or you're throwing an airmail. I think that that's the hardest part of just making sure that you are mentally checked in and that you are trying to give yourself, positive talk. And if you do, we're all going to miss something. We're going to miss a big shot. You've got to be able to give yourself a little bit of grace in that period and then be able to, okay, well, I missed that. Now what's going to happen? And you almost want to be thinking, so many steps ahead, almost like a billiards game. So you're not just worried about the next bag, you're worried about the next round, you're worried about all of that, but trying to stay focused, I think is, kind of the hardest part, especially when you get into some of those games where people are going to purposely try and make you hit, that big shot of the game, whether you're going to try and hit, a large push or an airmail drag or whatever the case may be. I think you just have to always be mentally ready for whatever comes your way.
So give me a specific, give me like a specific example. Let's say you're playing against Miranda, because you guys have played, against each other, to go to a broadcast court or something like that. So you're playing against Miranda, right? And you're sitting there at the board. You're standing there at the board. Tell me exactly what you're saying to yourself, when you got to hit a shot. Like, are you visualizing it? What are you saying to yourself specifically?
Absolutely. So you have to visualize what you're going to do. And I think that most players have kind of like a mantra of like what you're like saying in your head. And this is going to be ridiculous when I tell you that as a kid and as an athlete, I always tried to be better, but I knew that physically I was never going to be bigger and better than most other people. So I had to figure out a way to get better than everybody else just by using what I already had. And so I was reading whatever I could get my hands on as a kid about athletes and how they, what their self-talk was. And I remember reading in a book that I got at a Scholastic book fair about Bo Jackson, also one of my favorite athletes of all time, right? He was a dual sport athlete.
The best athlete I've ever seen.
Yep.
Sure,
and he talked about all of those things in his book about how you have to build your brain just like you would build your biceps. And I think that, having that, mantra that you're talking to yourself every time you throw a bag has physically helped and kind of mentally helped. But this was something that I developed when I was like 13, when I would go in and pitch softball games. I wasn't the best pitcher, but I was consistent. And so, coach always knew like they could just throw me in at the end of the game and close it out. So, slow and steady down the middle. That's it. And that's, as easy as it sounds, but sometimes just kind of going back and relying on the basics is just the most important when you get into those, high stake opportunities.
So that's what you say? You say that to yourself?
Every time.
Slow and steady down the middle.
Right down the middle. That's
so
it.
So how hard is it? Because the one thing, I don't know, Jeff, if you agree with this, but the one thing that I see a lot, and I'm talking the elite level of cornhole players like yourself, I see one bag cause 3 rounds of problems. Because it's one miss, you should have hit it, and it happens with, you name the player, and I've seen it happen from that player. How do you, so you have an easy slide shot, you miss it, all of a sudden you've given up points or you took points away, you took your chance away from getting points, and all of a sudden you see the next 2 rounds, they're just not focused. They realized, man, I can't believe I just made that mistake, and it cost them 2 rounds, and in those 2 rounds, they might give up 6-7 points, and then the game's completely turned on them. How hard is it to keep yourself from letting that happen? Like how hard is that to keep your head in the game? Kind of what Jeff's like, what is the self-talk? How do you keep yourself focused like that?
So I think that, you just have to be patient with yourself. And that's one of the things I think that I've learned from the end of last season to the start of this season is that if you miss a bag, it's going to happen. So you've got to figure out how to be able to rebound. And I think that that's kind of what has helped me stay a little bit more like calm and cool this season, as opposed to last season where I just put so much pressure on myself because I know I can, right? Just because I can in practice put all 4 in the hole doesn't mean you're going to do it, especially when it's, a game to make TV or a game to, make it to the shootout finals or whatever the case may be. I think you just you've got to give yourself just a little bit of leeway, and you've it's already happened. You can't go back and fix it now. So you've just got to look forward. And I think that that's the hardest thing that people can't figure out, right? And we talk about consistency. And most often when I talk to non-pro players, they always ask, how are you so consistent? And I always tell them, well, when you figure it out, you let me know. Because and every situation is different. It's completely different in every game. And it's, sometimes when you're playing someone who that you've beat before and you've never lost to, I think those are probably the hardest games to figure it out, as opposed to going up and playing a bigger named player or a higher ranked player, because you don't really have as many expectations for yourself. So just trying to be, calm and together in that situation is the most important.
By the way, for those who don't know, as we get more to the personal side here for Lori, and going back to your nickname that Bernie has so unfortunately given you, I'll make sure he doesn't call that.
Thank
he
you.
doesn't call you that anymore. So, Lori, how tall are you? 5 feet tall?
I'm 4'11".
Yes,
4'11".
vertically challenged people unite.
Not even 5 feet tall.
No, I never made it. Never made it to 5 feet. No.
But again, an incredible athlete. Like, can you just kind of talk me through? I think I've got that right. I think I remember talking to you about this in the past, but I think these are the sports, and maybe I'm leaving some out, but I've got swimming and diving, softball, track and field, tennis, basketball, golf and soccer. And of course, we've talked about on the broadcast, but you wrestling. Can you talk a little bit about your background? Why all the sports? Why did you choose them? I mean, 4'11", an incredible athlete and a wrestler with the guys, by the way. So how did this happen?
So my brother, I have an older brother, and he was a 3-sport athlete. He played football, basketball. Obviously, he was much taller than I was, and baseball. And so we grew up as a sports family. We went to, Sabres games. We had season tickets to the Buffalo Bills. I mean, sports are just in our family. On Sundays, we all, were texting back and forth about the games and, FaceTiming during the games. So it's just, sports are important, and we all started kind of playing. I started out in gymnastics, as my parents were so smart to set me up for, but it just wasn't my favorite. So I wanted to go out and, play different sports. And my first sport that I ever loved was basketball. And I picked up playing basketball, and I played at, the YMCA and the YWCA and every league I could get myself into. And obviously I'm the smallest one running around, during that particular time. But I just always aspired to be the first female in the NBA. And then the WNBA came out, probably when I was maybe 6th grade, 7th grade. And I still continued to be and aspire to be the first female in the NBA. I didn't want to play in the WNBA. I wanted to play in the NBA. That's where the good players are. No offense to the WNBA, but it's harder to play there. So when my dreams of basketball got shut down by my JV basketball coach, who told me that I was too short to ever play basketball, I ended up on the wrestling team, because it was either that or bowling for me. So I joined the wrestling team. And at the first year that I was there, we had 5 female players. We had the most in New York State that were females. And I was the first girl to wrestle varsity for my my school and my section. And so that made a lot of noise, and got to do a lot of, fun press things and news articles. And I took a lot of flack for it. I'll be honest with you. There were a lot of people, including, my teachers, my peers, who did not like the fact that there was a female on the wrestling team. But that wasn't the reason why I did it. I enjoyed the sport, and I was good at it. I got to stay at one weight class for all 4 years, which is, you don't hear that. So I wrestled 96 pounds and 103 during the week. So that was, a huge advantage for me. And I ended up getting a scholarship to go wrestle in college. So it was just one of the best opportunities that I think I've ever had. And it really, I think, gave me an edge in the world of cornhole, because I've walked into so many cornhole events and been the only, female player. And it's really given me a different perspective, I think, of being on a male team as opposed to a female team.
Interesting.
Incredible story.
How difficult was it? Because you're wrestling, what'd you say? What were the weights?
96 pounds and 103 pounds.
So, what age were the guys wrestling at that weight? They had to be young, right?
Yeah, they were like that. That was the whole perspective, was that you could pick up in New York, you could be in 7th or 8th grade on a high school team, as long as you passed all of the different physicals and physical fitness tests. and things like that. So I always wrestled the younger generation, right? They never stayed in that weight class. Every once in a while, you'd find somebody who, was maybe like a junior or a sophomore, but for the most part, it was all the younger kids. So it was.
So you were just dominating these kids, is what you're telling me. You were just pinning dudes left and right, like, yeah, welcome to Algebra 1, bang, pin.
Exactly, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. My parents supported me the whole way through, even though there was a lot of negative things going on, at school and the community about it. Even my own coaching staff, there were sometimes they wouldn't even sit in my corner, right, in a wrestling match because of just different political things that were going on. So I think that just kind of, gave me a different perspective that if nobody's going to sit in my corner, I'm just going to go out there and win anyway. So
Lori, what is your goal now? I mean, you talked about when you were younger, you wanted to play in the NBA, and I absolutely love that. So what do you want now? What do you see out of Lori Dool here going forward?
I mean, I think everybody aspires to, world championship. That's really where it is. I mean, I'll settle for a national championship too. I really am a little bummed that we don't have women's doubles again for the national championship opportunities, but I do like the idea of singles. I think it pushes, at least from my perspective, it pushes me to be better. To come so close to winning a national championship, I think it just really pushes me to be better this season. I mean, to be honest with you, nobody saw it coming to become a professional athlete and be on ESPN and CBS and be able to travel, the country and play a professional sport, in their 30s. So I am just grateful, I think, for that opportunity in general. I think that, kind of changing my lifestyle around to be able to continue to do that too is something that I will never regret doing.
And speaking of, how hard is the travel? I mean, it does kind of wear on you. Like, do you ever find, especially in the spring and summer, when it seems like everyone's on the road at all the time, like, do you ever feel burnout as a player? Like, man, I can't believe we got to get back on a plane and we got to keep going. Like, do you ever feel burnout?
I don't really feel burnout on the travel. I think now I've taken a different work position so that I work from home. So I think that that's given me a huge sigh of relief, because there were times when I was still, at my previous career, and I was, traveling, leaving the office, working a half a day, traveling from the office, getting to the airport, going to play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, flying home on a red-eye flight, and then having to be back in the office on Monday morning at 8:00. And that was really the burnout feeling. So I knew that if I wanted to give Cornhole 100% effort, that I was going to have to make a career change. And so that's what I did. Like I said, I think that was the smart decision. I think that if I didn't, and I stayed in that career path, it's not that I can't go back to it, at any point in time. It's just the fact that this was the right opportunity at the right time. And it allowed me to be able to work from, different airports and hotels. And it's been a huge help, I think, in the game of Cornhole.
All right, Lori, we got like 30 seconds left. You are so locked in with your career. You're so locked in with Cornhole. What makes you laugh? Like maybe we need to bring in Miranda for this. Like, when do you like throw your hair around and just laugh and you just act silly, or never? Are you always like this? Are you always a pro 24/7?
I'm pretty much always a pro, but I think that the thing that makes me laugh the most is all of the random questions that I get from Miranda. So yesterday we were talking about a hat trick.
There she is again. She's calling.
Yeah, calling right now.
She is calling. Look, every time. I had mentioned about how they had talked about a hat trick, and she asked what a hat trick was, and she had no idea. And it was great. And we laughed about it for probably 20 minutes. She thought it had something to do with your head.
All right, there we go. That's a perfect example. We just got a giggle out of Lori Dool.
There it is.
All right, BoarderLine episode 56 can now come to an end because we made Lori Dool laugh. That's good. Hey, Lori, seriously, thank you so much for being a good friend, for being such a sounding board for me, for being so patient and kind with your time with me and answering all my stupid questions. It's been great to get to know you and Miranda, and best of luck in Myrtle Beach. We'll see you guys down there.
Thank you so much.
See you then, Lori.
Happy holidays.
Same to you. All right. Wow. I'm so glad we finally got a chance to get her on.
Absolutely. Good times.
All right. Happy holidays, buddy.
Yeah, man.
Despite everything we talked about in the first 5 minutes.
Everybody enjoy your holiday season. It's awesome.
All right, bud. I'll see you in Myrtle Beach.
Yes, sir.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening.